Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Knowledge and Relationships. And yes, we are finally back to our scheduled programming for our Tuesdays and Thursday night shows. So, as always, for those who are new, this is your boy M3. And so tonight, we're going to we're gonna have something good. We're gonna have a good topic. Let me go ahead and turn this down a little bit. Make sure it's not loud. For those who are tuning in, let me know if the sound is okay. Hopefully, it's not too low and hopefully, it's not too loud. Okay, so tonight's episode is called Before You Buy. Okay, pros and cons before buying income property. And so, the reason why I want to have this subject is because I feel like it's something that needs to be spoken more about. But before I get to it, let me give a shout out to Cool Gamer. As always, that person, he or she is, says hello to you, salute. And then Jenny Morana, thank you for tuning in. Salutes to you. Oh, you know what? I forgot to put my sound bits on. So salutes to you. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Okay. And as always, please make sure you guys and ladies get the likes up for us. Okay. So, all right. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this is because I had previous experience as far as owning not just a home, but a multi-family home. And I feel like, this is like a good topic to start off with a nice return because, look, man, to be honest with you, I just want to talk about something that is pretty much positive and more informative. Because here in Knowledge Relationships, hey, we want to make sure that everyone leaves, feeling satisfied, feeling like you got something in. And salutes to Von Bryant. Thank you for tuning in, sir. Now, as a disclaimer, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor or anything like that, nor am I a real estate agent. I'm just a person, who had a dream, and I still do have dreams, and we live and learn. But anyways, I had to start off with always getting involved into a story. Okay, so story time, all right? This was back in 2016. Okay, this was the start when my wife and we put our money together and we refinanced our car. One of our cars we already had paid for, but we used the refinance money, 10 grand, to invest into a multi-unit property. This one, however, was a fixer-upper in the city of Oakland. Now, it was a lot of I feel like it was more cons than the pros, but I'll get to all that part, right? So the good part was, okay, we put in 3% down into a house that was worth, at the time it was worth 250,000. So our 3% we had to use an FDA loan. So no, sorry, not FDA, FHA loan, which is Federal Housing Association. Salutes to Wally. Thank you for tuning in. All right. So with the FHA loan, it's for people like, if you're not able to put 20% down to the house, they will allow, families to put at least like the minimum of 3%. And so with 3%, you can really do like a lot of good things with it. You know what I mean? Now, and yes, thank you for posting that up there, Brian. Yes, please be advised. This is not political, clinical, financial, medical, or legal advice. This is informational purposes only. Yes, thank you. So this was just something that, okay, when you have a certain type of loan, the catch is like you have to live in a home for at least like 3 years. Now, that's what they say. However, there's other ways around it. Keep in mind, I'm speaking from my own experience. I'm not speaking from like as if I read the whole books about it. But you could also stack up some money and refinance your home, which means you don't have to worry about being locked in for 3 years before moving out. And then you could turn into a conventional loan, meaning like, okay, you could put your 20% into the home or put whatever that you could put into it. So that way, you could still keep up with your mortgage or maybe pay less of your mortgage. So that's how we kind of did it after we did the FHA loan. But let me get back to the housing part. So with the housing part, it was a major. It wasn't like a little fixer upper. It was a major fixer upper. And so there was times like, man, after putting our 10 grand, and the funny part is, I just started like my the job that I work for now. I just started at that time, since 2016. So therefore, right, I was super lucky, like, well, blessed, I guess, getting that job right on time of it. And so, because I was transitioning through like, different careers and other stuff happened in the past. So, which I'll say that story for another time. But anyways, so so we combined, like, like I said, our income or whatever, but I had to still wait because we was both getting paid like at least like once a month. Most of you guys are, lucky that you guys get paid like, maybe every week, every 2 weeks. But, if you're working for like the districts, okay, they only pay you once a month at the end of the month. And especially when you start a new job, you don't wait for like, 2 weeks to get your money. You got to wait for like 2 months. So, yeah, that was very rough for self. Shout out to Kate Marion. She says, visit the properties day and night and weekends. Even then, you may not see everything, but you will have a very good idea if you want to live there or rent it out. Yes, yes. And so, like I said, getting to the story of it. So, it was a struggle because like stuff that needed to be fixed. First thing needed to be fixed was the roof and the ceiling. We had a roofing leak. And that's like one of the worst things. Good thing that the leak was like on our side and not on the tenant side. Because then that would have been a huge problem. But we had to fix that right away. So, that means like, taking like pulling out money out from like your savings, your reserves, okay. Getting loans out in addition to try to like, pay contractors and hopefully finding the right contractors that's not going to screw you over. Then, paying for like electric work, like electrical boxes that, what we found out in the long run that it wasn't even uh, wired correctly. And because it wasn't wired correctly, we pretty much had to go pay for another electrician, which was more money out of our pocket, at least like a year later. So stuff like that really catches up to you when you're trying to find the right people and you're new to like investment and you just don't know who to really trust. And in my situation, this was very, very hard because the ones that would screw me the most was unfortunately pretty much our own people. So imagine like you're like, investing a property in the ghetto because that's where it was at. So you invest your property in the hood, and you're trying to find contractors that have some type of integrity, but they really don't have the integrity that you think that they have. And so when dealing with those type of people, especially your own people, it's like, damn, like if my own people could screw me over, anybody could screw me over. So we had, not only just our own people, Mexican screw us over, some white folks try to get over on us. And then after a while, we just started learning to be more wise of like, okay, like doing more proper research on the contractor, see like if that contractor has some good credibility, before just trying to hire anybody. But at the time, when your funds is limited, You're trying to find whoever that's willing to even take on the job, at a minimum rate. But you get what you really pay for, especially if you're not going after, or like a high prestige type of company. So, what else? So the other things I will say, like, you want to make sure that you probably vet your tenants. Now, our tenant was already, well, we had two tenants before we had to move. Well, before one person moved out and the other person stayed. So it's a thing that you also have to know too. So even though those tenants was already, they already came with the property because it was already living there. You want to make sure that you check their history and check, their family life. If they have families, you just want to check these things and how they live and how they move and operate. So, and I'm not gonna, put any, tenants like personally like on blast because, like I said, we went through a lot, and of course, when you have like non-disclosure agreements, you're not allowed to really, speak on the tenant's name and try to bash them or whatever. So this conversation is not even about bashing. It's just like a learning lesson. You want to make sure that you get tenants right. Sometimes I'm not gonna lie, you might want to get tenants that probably don't really know their rights. This may sound a little bit shady, but the reason why I'm saying this is because you know tenants who try to learn the system will try to play the system, in their favor against you, especially when you're dealing with people and property management in the city of Oakland. Now they have laws and they have regulations. Whereas, like, okay, if you were to try to kick someone out, you're not legally supposed to do that. It has to be for a specific reason. The other thing is you can't raise up the rent how you want it. Now, unless like you wait for like I think like 2 years or 3 years. But there's been so many changes, especially with the pandemic that's going on. You probably can't even raise the rent at all if the tenant is really living there. But maybe by like a small percentage I'll say once every year. And you have to fix up the place too, like renovate and do all kinds of good stuff. Shout outs to Wonder Watts for tuning in. He loved those that love him. And then shout outs to Mr. He said. Peace, family. Salute to MT in the chat. Thank you. Thank you. And King Mayor says, don't be shady. Grady. Okay, okay. But look, when you're dealing with money, you're dealing with business, you still got to make sure that you put your foot down and be firm. One of the mistakes that we made was trying to be compassionate. Because when you try to be compassionate, especially for like your own people and other like black families, you want to like you don't want to be the person that has to like give them a term what's it called, give them a eviction. You don't want to be the person that be like, okay, I'm gonna have to raise the rent for you because we gotta eat. You know what I mean? You'll hate to do these things, but at the same time it's like, hey, if you let them run over you, they will definitely take advantage of that. And that was a situation that what we was going through because, like I said, people who know the system will also abuse the system. So as a landlord or a property owner, you gotta also know the system too. You gotta find the right lawyers that's not gonna like charge you like ridiculous high pricing, but you want to make sure you get everything in writing. And I think that's like one of the things that will definitely help save you as a property owner because if you don't get anything in writing, if you don't take pictures of anything, they could say whatever they want to say. They could even tear up your property. And then they'll try to make you fix it. And the court will actually look at you like you're a scumlord. Because in California, the way how it works, everything's in favor of the tenant. So since everything's in favor of the tenant could like, be the one to like create mold in the house. But it still falls on you. The responsibility falls on you if you don't take care of it. But how will you take care of it if if you're not even aware about it? So those are things like you really gotta be keen on. That's why every year, okay. Well, actually, I would say like this: every quarter, you should always, or at least once a month, always go visit your tenant, look around the house, make sure that there's no mold, there's nothing broken, there's no damages, and whatever you see, take pictures of it. Take pictures, take video, because you want to have your before and you want to have your after evidence ready in hand if you ever had to take people to court, or if the tenant will try to sue you. Speaking of that, so a tenant can take you to court, and because a tenant is a tenant, your tax dollars helps pay for their lawyer. They don't have to pay anything. But as an owner, property owner, you have to pay for your own lawyers. Okay? And God be, I mean, look, you never want to lose a battle in court, because if you're losing a battle, not only you're paying the tenant compensation, you're paying their lawyers as well too. It's just ridiculous, Shout outs to OG Patrice. Thank you for tuning in. All right, KMS says legally we learn when we upgrade the following year, you can realize that increased capital. Otherwise, you only get what the county allows in cost of living increase, approximately 1.9% or so, and that's not even a lot. 1.9%. That's like every year. You may only probably increase it no more than like $100 or $200, pretty much. As opposed to and here's the thing, and this is why like a lot of owners, right? They kind of stop investing in Oakland as far as like properties as much, because tenants that's already been living there, like grandfather, they're only paying like maybe $500 a month for rent. Now that's good for them, but imagine you have an investment property, and let's say it's a fourplex, okay? Even if you live in an empty unit, your mortgage probably might be like over like $3,000 or $4,000. But if you only have tenants that's covering up to like, let's say, 1,500, that's not enough to cover up the expenses, cover up the mortgage. You're gonna have to come out of pocket on your own. And God forbid if they decide not to even pay rent at all, period, then you gotta go through a long process of it. 6 months of not 6 months, 2 months of rent being unpaid. Then you gotta wait and take them to court. And sometimes the judge will try to negotiate, or the lawyers will try to negotiate, before an eviction could be put in place. So that's like another thing, that you also have to worry about as well too. I know I'm speaking on like a lot of cons, so let me go ahead and get to the positives, because I'm not trying to scare you guys from investing in property. Because here's the thing, despite all that, it's still it's a good thing to try to invest into something. Because you know why? What was normally a person would do, okay, if you had $1,000, most likely you will spend it. You'll probably go out on a club, or you might get some clothes, some shoes, but most likely a lot of us are gonna probably waste our money as opposed to putting in into stocks, bonds, IULs, like individual, what's it called? I forgot what the U stand for though. Individual Universal Life Insurance. I think that's what I said. But if I'm wrong, still correct me. Put it in the chat. And then shout outs to Mimsy Makes the Home. Salutes to you, sis. Yeah, I've been watching some of your content. So you've been making some good stuff. So yes, thank you for tuning in. And everyone, please help us to get the likes up. If you're new to Knowledge and Relationships, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Most importantly, please share on your social media, Facebook, YouTube, if you can. Share it to Instagram, because look, if you're able to share this type of information to your friends and family, Somebody's gonna get help no matter what. But also keep in mind too, as Von Bryan will say, please be advised that this is not political, clinical, financial, medical, or legal advice. This is for information purposes only. So basically, I am not like one of those financial gurus at all. I'm just telling you guys from my experience. So the thing is, there's a purpose of, investing like, your money to something that's going to generate some income. No matter what you do, no matter how much you're getting, income is still income. But you just want to make sure that, you outweigh the assets and your liabilities. Keep your liabilities low, keep your assets high. Okay, keep your debt low. Like, don't be like me and start and make mistakes and, just spend my money on foolish things. This is why I'm having this live stream, just so I could tell you guys and ladies as well too, these financial, like, things that it could happen to you and how to be prepared on it. All right, so the good thing is that, okay, think about it like this. If you already have an interest, most people have an interest to pretty much invest into a single family home. Okay, which that's cool. You have your own dream home because people like to live the American dream. However, right, you know, to me, honestly, it's always better to start off your first home as like your income, your investment home. That way, while you're still paying a certain amount of your mortgage, you have other people that will help, like, pay for your mortgage for you. Like I said, even if it's 1,500 a month, even if it's 1,000 a month, that's still income that's going towards your mortgage that can probably help you to put half of it down as opposed to paying the full amount. And then it came in since the initial tenants had grandfather rent from 2009. Okay, far below fair market rent value for 2016 at the time. Rent control is nearly statewide in California these days. When you sell, many buyers want vacant property, and it's true. Many buyers will want like a vacant property just so they be able to keep up with the cost of living, the rent, and put it on fair market value. Because you don't want to get into a property where it's below fair market value. That's why it was hard for us to try to find other properties because look, like fourplexes, like 6 units. I'm like, yo, they're nice and all, and the price is fair. But however, when you do the research and you're finding your tenant is paying like 250, 300 a month, 500 a month, that's way below fair market value. And if you're dealing like with, six people, six families, that's going to be hard itself. So good luck, like, trying to take them to court unless like you have the money to take all of them to court and try to see if you could get them to pay fair market value rent. And most likely California's going to tell you no. So you're going to be wasting your money doing that. But like I said, it's all about just like investing in whatever you can to create passive income. And that's what it's all about. It's all about passive income. Look, you don't even have to buy a property if you're not comfortable with it. Like I said, you could invest your money into the stock market. You still take your risk. You may gain some, you may lose some. I mean, there's option trading, there's regular stock trading, there's crypto markets. There's so many different stocks and cryptos and OTCs off the counter, like stocks like that you can invest in, like penny stocks, pretty much. You can invest in so much and probably get a greater return as opposed to leaving your money in the bank for a few years. Okay, I know, but look, it's a catch-22 because you want to save to make money work for you. You know what I mean? So it does require that. It also requires like, hey, sometimes you're gonna probably have to hustle. You probably might have to get 2 jobs. You may have to transfer from a job that you was once comfortable in that was paying you less to working at something that might be more challenging, but will be beneficial for your financial income. That's how people are able to really get things rolling. That's why people go to school, get trades, all these things, just so they can have more money to invest in. Because the more money you make, the more money you invest in, I'm sorry, more money you make, more money you invest in, the more of the return that you're going to get. It says, with 2009 rent, your tenant is not willing to move away and likely will fight to keep their rent low, even breaking things you repaired for them multiple times with receipts provided to the city. And that's where it goes to making sure that you have your receipts. If you don't have your receipts and your proof, anything could happen, and they're just going to keep tearing up things, and you want to keep fixing things. Even if you buy something that's totally brand new, they can still break it, and try to find any type of reason to say, look, this person is not taking care of me. I have the right to stay and still pay below fair market value rent. Receipts count best if you need lawyer involvement. Exactly. All right. Man, there's so many things to really cover up on rental property. But let me get back to the story though, right? Because that's not even over. So, all right. So we there's times that we went to court because we're trying to, 2 years, 3 years pass by. We're trying to raise to fair market value, and the tenant, she can't afford to pay fair market value rent. So, we're going through hell, just trying to fight through her lawyers and going to court, and that's time consuming, and it costs money as well too. And this times I had to literally take days off from work, and that's not easy, taking days off from work, especially when you're handling business stuff. So that was going on. Then finally, okay, the tenant moved out, and then we found a better tenant who was able to pay fair market value for the rent. Now, sometimes it's good to really have. I know people will say a lot of bad things about tenants under Oakland housing or Section 8, but honestly, you know, these may be one of the best tenants to really hold on to, because the thing is, if anything happens to them, they have a system that's going to help recover, you know, for what they're not able to pay out. So if they don't have a job, they will still adjust it so that way we can still get our full amount of rent. So it's kind of like a insurance, like a safety cushion for the tenant. So I advise people look, give Section 8 tenants a try. I know you think that okay, they're going to be the ones that would tear up and damage your property and all that, but they're not going to be the only ones. I'm just just saying it could be anybody who's not Section 8, but it's always a risk for anything, even if you do a background check and they have a positive record. Speaking of records, I think this was as of 2019 that you can no longer check for criminal history because Oakland really want people to move into these properties so bad, and a lot of people was not really qualified to move in because they had really severe criminal history. It could be abuse, all the things that you could probably think of, but you're not allowed to do a criminal history check nor discriminate them based off their criminal background. And Von Bryan says, how important is good credit in purchasing property? And what suggestions will you have for those who have bad credit and want to repair it? That is a good question. All right. So good credit is everything. Credit is everything. Excellent credit is wonderful. So if you had let's say you have good credit, Von Bryan, okay, you will be able, the chances of having a lower interest rate will play in your favor. If you have excellent credit, your interest, like, when, especially like when buying a property and going through these loans, you know, they will really entrust you with something that's even greater. Okay. So they will literally give you discounts on your mortgage. Sorry, not discounts, mortgage discounts on your loans. So whereas like maybe, the property could have been the loan value could be like maybe you're paying like 5%. Just by having extra credit, you could probably narrow that down to like 3%. Now, for people who have bad credit, unfortunately, they're not gonna really, you know, like trust anyone or give their loan out because that's where you have. Let me see, I can't think of the name of the person, but loan advisor. No, it's this other person that does like a lot of credit and background checks, and I can't remember what they call that person, right? Because it's been so long, but it was always annoying to us because they'll ask us a lot of deep questions, like where you get the money from, and who gave you this or whatever. I'm trying to remember, but maybe K. Marion will remember. It should apply to all tenants, but it does not count everywhere. hmm So, but to repair like your credit, loan officer. Thank you, Farm Brian. Yes, the loan officer. So the loan officer is the pretty much the final say that determines, hey, will you be approved to be qualified for this house or not? So if the loan officer gave you the yay, then you're good. If it's like a nay, then it's like you're gonna have to try again next time. No, not the loan officer, the underwriter. Oh, hold on, correction. Okay, thank you, Care Mary. Okay, so sorry, everybody. It's not the loan officer. It's the underwriter. That's what it is. Underwriter. Okay. You was close, Von Brian, but it's called like the underwriter. The underwriter is the one who I'm talking about. That's the one that will give you the yay and nay, if you're approved or not. Because the underwriter does a lot of background checks. They will ask you a lot of questions, and they'll try to figure out like, okay, where'd you get your source of money from? Like what was like your history as far as dealing with maybe other problems in the past if you had some. Like it's just so annoying, but it's the underwriter. Okay. And K Man says good credit is only important if you want to enter with little money and low interest. The better your credit, the lower your annual interest rate. Excellent credit is the key in underwriting. And then Von Brian says, I meant to put a question mark behind that. Sorry. Oh, okay. I get you though. Um, man, okay. So bear with me on this part, right? Because man, my memory is not the best as far as like Kim Marion's memory, but if I remember as far as the loan officer, right? Because he's asking me, what is a loan officer? I think the loan officer, if I remember these times, I think that was the person who. Hmm, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that because I don't want to give you no like inaccurate information. It's just that it's been so long, so I don't really remember per se. But the loan officer is supposed to be the person um, who pretty much kind of tells you, like, he kind of goes with you with the numbers, the logistics, how much like you'll be paying, what to expect, the taxes on the property, all these other things. He's the one who's supposed to send all your information out to the underwriter, and he's the one supposed to kind of like, help you get to that step, you know. So thinking about it's like, the loan officer is like the first person, okay, that you will probably return to try to get things set up. And then the underwriter is like the final person that gives the final say so. If that makes sense. And then shout outs to Pretty Good Gaming. Salutes to you guys. Thank you for tuning in. So hopefully that helped. Sorry, like, if and like I said, if I'm incorrect, I do apologize, but that's what I remember. But like I said, it's been so long, and I'm gonna get to like this other story because like so we had the property for a minute and we had our tenant in there. Oh, actually, K Marion already put out there. The loan officer finds the best mortgage lender based on your income and career. Yes, loan officers and brokers work with the underwriters. Okay. Thank you, K Marion, for that information. So so again, you know, remember, like I said, the logistics, like the financial logistics, even with the taxes and all that, the loan officer is the one that will pretty much find the best mortgage for you. He's the guy. He's the numbers guy. Just put it like that. You know, you try and get like like a better deal for what you're paying for. The loan officer is the right guy for you. Okay. Um, what's the other point I was going to make? So continuing the story. So yeah, so we finally have a new tenant, and at this point, yeah, no worries. Like, yeah, you was definitely close. That's what I was saying, like, in the beginning. But thanks for those questions, though. Those questions definitely help. So at this point, we we refinanced our home. We actually refinanced our home before we had a new tenant in there, but the refinance was to kind of cover up the debts that we were in, from fixing up, our first property, our income property. Now, and that actually helped because it helped pay for our solar loans, credit card debt, other things. hmm And so, but we're going right back in debt again because this time around we brought a single family home, which I really, really wish that we could have found another income property. Because see, this was my idea. Okay, my idea was like, all right, before we even get into a single family home, let's have two income properties. Okay.
You left them hanging. You just said we got a new tenant, but you didn't say we got a new.
Hold on for a second. What's that?
You left them hanging. You said, and then we got a new tenant, and then we refinanced the home.
Hold on. She said I left somebody hanging. Like, what you mean?
You skipped that part. You skipped over. You just said, and then we got a new tenant. Then we had a refinance, but you were talking about the Pittsburgh property.
No. I wasn't talking about Pittsburgh. No.
You said, but I really wish that we had bought another duplex.
I know. I'm not even finished with the story yet.
I know, but I'm saying you skipped.
I didn't skip. I'm still talking about the Oakland property.
Okay, for us as listening, it skipped.
Okay.
But don't say Pittsburgh.
Well, you already said it. Who cares? Whatever, right? So, anyways, so so the property, right? So Kate Mary's talking about like I skipped like some things though, but I'm still talking about the Oakland property, but I'm talking about the refinancing for Oakland's property. So we refinanced the home, okay? After refinancing Oakland, okay, we used the money to pay off, like I said, our debts again. But from that point, we wound up being in debt again because we wound up purchasing another property. But this time it was a single family home. And as I was saying before she came in there, was that I was hoping to look for another income property because if we was able to live in two income properties, that would be like almost like pretty much triple the amount. Even though you're going to be paying two mortgages, but at least you'll have three tenants that will help if you divide it evenly, cover parts of Oakland and cover parts of the other property. So, you probably already heard the city or whatever, but I ain't tripping about that. But anyways, so we wound up doing that, and I'm trying to get to my point because I feel like I lose my train of thought right now. But fast forwarding it, okay. As we was leaving, so fast forward because I don't want to hold this up, right? I want to make sure I get to the point. So fast forward, we moved out, okay, and oh shoot, actually no, okay. See now I'm skipping stuff. Okay, There was something else I also forgot to mention, and this is going to be still invested into your property, whether if it's a single family home or a multi-unit home. But that's the point I was going to make. So while we still living in there, and we had two properties at this point. Okay, so we was traveling back and forth. Okay, from Oakland to other cities, and the reason why we was doing that because we started opening up Air what's it called, Airbnb, yeah, Airbnb home. Okay, for the new single family property. While because it was pretty much vacant. So we was doing that, traveling back and forth. Okay, like almost pretty much like 40 miles or 80 miles like round trip. Because when you open up Airbnb, okay, you're having you're having guests that's coming in, and you treat it like a hotel. And we was making like a good amount of money. Like you can make like $300 a day. You can make $500 a day. You can set your own pricing. And if they like it, if they enjoy it, look, they're gonna probably ask to stay more. We had people that wanted to live in there for like 3 months, but the con was that if you already had a tenant that sorry not tenant, if you already had a guest that reserved that spot in between that, there was no way around it. And there will be guests that will try to negotiate, be like, well, if you cancel that guest, we'll pay you in cash. But the problem is, you never want to be in a situation where you're not insured. So Airbnb wasn't really having it. So we had to turn down the ones that would have gave us the most profit. You know what I mean? Just to accommodate the guests that wanted to stay in that low time slot. But you can make a lot of money as long as you have a good area. You don't have like a bunch of like nosy neighbors calling the police or whatever. And having a house with a good pool, clean pool definitely works because people will more be driving to like be more driven um to rent out your home just because of the pool, because they want to have pool parties, they want to have guests over. Some guests came in for like business meetings. That's what they say, business meetings. But no matter what, like you could probably make like 1,000, 2,000 a week just doing that type of stuff, and even more. So doing that plus, you're staying your income probably, and you have a tenant living in that other unit. That dude, there was plenty of money to be made passively. The only work that we had to do was that once the tenant leaves, we just had to make sure that we clean up the place. The con with investing into your single family home for Airbnb is that guests are not going to have respect for your home. Some people may steal, if you leave like electronics around. Some people will break stuff and they will try to hide it. Some people are very nasty. So get your gloves and your mask ready and clean up the place because you're going to have to really do some deep sanitation. So these things that you really have to like keep note of. Washing the bed sheets, and then making sure that you have that prepared before the other guest arrives. So it's a lot of things that you can really do to make passive income. It's just knowing how to utilize it. Even to this day, if we really want to, but you have to really trust these strangers. You could still open your home for Airbnb, but do you really want some strangers walking around your house? And most likely, there will be more. I don't think they will even want to even rent out your place, knowing that you're gonna still be around. You're gonna rent out your place for a reason, so they can have their own personal space. So, those are one of the things that you can also make a benefit of if if you have your own home, and let's just say it's not a multi-unit. So, use it to like your best advantage, but just know everything that you have, there's always going to be like a lot of cons to it. Okay, so now I think we can move on. So since I got the Airbnb part out the way, so we wound up like finally moving to our single family home, and we found like a tenant to occupy the second unit in our Oakland place. And things was good. It was covering up the mortgage for the Oakland property and a little bit for what we put in for our own home. Excuse me. But then right before the pandemic hit, the tenant wound up moving out. One of them. And that was the tenant that was paying the most rent. And the reason why he had to move because his job took him somewhere else, and he couldn't stay in Oakland for too long. Which it really made it hard for us to try to find another tenant. Because here's the thing: if you're not investing into a home that's in a nice neighborhood, and you have all these like ratchet people that's out there, all these ghetto hood boogers or whatever that just crown the spot, people are going to be very hesitant to even rent out your property. They're like, yo, I'm cool. And let's see, K Man says it is a business. Keep all receipts and repairs for new items that need replacing for tax season. Yes. So even with the repairs that you're making, um, and the renovations, or things that you're adding as new, always want to make sure you keep the receipts because it will definitely help lower your tax bracket. And I'm starting to get a home-based business too. So let me make sure I'm not skipping on the plate. So anyways, yeah. So at that point, they tend to move out, and so it was very hard to try and find someone. Even people who had Section 8 did not even want to live in that other side of the unit because of all the wretchedness that was going on. So when you do get a property, make sure you get a property in a really good area. What will you say the approximate yearly amount of finances will be spent on income property? Oh, income property repairs. Well, if I'm Brian, like it really depends. Um, for us, I would say it was like around like 8,000 or something, like every like yearly for repairs. So repairs and expenses, like yeah, and just like actually even more than that. I think one time we paid like at least like we spent like 15,000. Yeah. Hold on for a second. Okay, sorry about that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna invite my wife into the stream because she definitely has like a lot that she want to say, and she has like a lot of good helpful information. So give me about 1 second, okay? And this is how you know. Hold on, going back. This is how you know that I am definitely not a financial advisor, okay? And none of and when it comes to legal advice and all that, I am definitely not the person because I am not well trained. I can only tell you a little bit, at least by experience, based off of what little that I remember. Remember, this was like years ago, so but I'm gonna invite my wife into this, Mrs. M3. So I just want to make sure she's ready. So speak. Put your thumbs up, Mrs. M3, if you're ready. Oh, can you hear me? Okay.
Oh,
Can you hear
there
me?
it is.
Yeah. Turn your camera
Can
sideways.
you all hear me? I can't hear you.
Yeah. We can hear you.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
I can't hear you. I wanted to answer the question.
Turn your
I think,
turn your volume up.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I can read your lips. um, there are several sites that you can go to, and as you're looking for your property to buy, it tells you what is the annual cost of maintenance. Look for that phrase on Zillow, on Trulia, on Redfin, wherever you're looking for your property, on Coldwell Banking, wherever it is. Plug to our friend Sandra, because it'll tell you what's the estimated cost to run that house before you ever purchase. And that's directly from their estimates on the property's value and what it takes in the years of whether it's from property taxes or other public records, what it took the years before to keep it up and running, so that you know what it costs, even if it's a house that you don't live in, just so that it's not an abandoned house that gets run down. There's certain maintenance that you have to do. And if a person lives in it, it might add to it because of wear and tear. Just wanted to share that.
Okay, okay. Try to go out and then come back in if you can hear me. So that way you'll, yeah, okay. All right, cool. So now let me go ahead and bring in, none other than the Mr. Oh, okay. I guess he will be back in a second. All right. So, anyways, salutes to Tristan. Thank you for tuning in. Partly Cloudy, thank you for tuning in as well. All right. And Von Bryant, hopefully we was able to answer like your question. Like I said, it depends on who you're dealing with. I just know for us personally, we were spending like a lot as far as renovation, property repairs, and it's not cheap. You're probably spending like at least around roughly $15,000, I would say. But that doesn't mean that it will happen to you. It just means that some folks might be fortunate and spend less, and then there's going to be others that's going to probably pay more. All right, can you hear me now? Okay, so she's having trouble with I guess like her phone or audio issues. We can hear her, but she can't hear us. So thank you for having this conversation. It's very informative. Oh, thank you, Vaughn. Like, to be honest with you, like, here's the thing, like, I wanted to kind of start off like with something fresh, like, especially, coming here, making like a nice return after, like a vacation, somewhat. But we always be talking about the usual things, especially in this YouTube space. We always be talking about, men versus women, all these male and female relationships. Hold on. Okay, Marion, can you hear me? If you can hear me, put a thumbs up. Hold on. Okay. She froze and she's having problems with her phone, so I don't know. But anyways, so we just want to just talk about something that's more like, informative for people, because we're all about trying to help people out. At the same time, we're all just trying to learn as well too in this YouTube space. So, entertainment is definitely fun, and I know like that's what people are more driven into. But you could still learn something and still be entertained at the same time. Okay, Marion, can you hear? Okay, hold on. All right, sorry guys. OG Patrice, thank you. Yes, subscribe and smash that like button. Definitely share the video. Share it to your friends and family. Definitely, show, let your fam know about it. If you have any questions about like, homes and all that, I will just advise like, to get some best like financial advice, you know, from somebody who's like very knowledgeable at these things. For me, I'm just more of like a storyteller on this one. So, okay. K-Man says, I hope you were able to hear me. The volume was off unless I play and stream. Well, we was able to hear you, like, K-Man. It just, for some reason, I don't know why you was not able to hear us. I think you have to go into like your settings and select speaker for your audio. So the mobile phone of StreamYard is way different from StreamYard using the computer. So try that again and then try to hop back in. If you have some problems, just come in the room and then I can try to help you out real quick. Okay. Let's try this again. All right, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, good. All right. That was interesting for a minute. Okay.
All right, cool. Farm Brian says, you mentioned you had income property, which means I'm sure you had tenants. Are you able to share some of your dang she left again. Are you able to share some of your worst experience with tenants? Uh yeah, I shared it earlier, like during the live stream, and also keep in mind, like I haven't got to the end of it, but yeah, which like I said, I had. But worst experience was like going to court, tenants not paying rent, tenants breaking in, having other people to break into your home, because that was a situation that we went through. Um, Getting into arguments, damn near like I can't really say too much details because I don't want to incriminate myself, but you become a whole totally different person. Think about Terrence Howard from Empire. I would just say, if you ever watched that, okay. So hold on for just 1 second. All right. Yeah, we definitely went through like a whole lot. If you're not mentally prepared to be like a property owner, then I'm just telling you, like it's just investment property is not for you. But real quick, I gotta give a warm like welcome to my network manager, Mr. Intellectual Soapbox.
Hey,
What's up, people? What's up?
What's up, Mr. Intellectual Soapbox? How you doing?
Chilling out, chilling out. What's going on? What's going on?
Nothing much, man. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, we're just talking about our experiences as far as investment property, Airbnb, all kinds of like stuff, that's going on. And Brian had a good question that took me down back to memory lane. Yeah, you have any thoughts, Mr. Intellectual Soapbox?
I think that when you try to when you venture into any type of things that
Mm-hmm.
that you're trying to learn from or that is a new experience for you, you're gonna go through bumps in the road.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know what I'm saying? Like it could be a new career, it could be new anything. And you know, it's always good to seek counsel of those who've kind of been down that road or who kind of may know a lot more about what you're trying to get into instead of just kind of jumping into it. You know what I mean? Like that's something that I've learned a lot. It's something that's helped me a lot too. Like when I was getting into the tech field, I was asking. It was a brother who was working in the tech field, and I was asking him a lot of questions about what to expect. Kind of how I need to approach each position, what decorum I need to have. Because my experience was doing customer service and doing most of it in retail. So
Mm-hmm.
becoming a computer tech was completely different. It's a different atmosphere. And each company will require you to approach things differently.
Mm-hmm.
Some companies are very straight laced. You can't even be 1 minute late. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a
Mm-hmm.
different atmosphere. They'll even kind of monitor like maybe even your bathroom breaks. You know what I mean? Like some
Yeah.
companies are very, very, very stringent, right? Other companies are super flexible. Like, man, look, you come in anytime, you can leave anytime,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll still pay you. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, and some companies will start throwing in different, amenities based on kind of like what you're doing. So some may pay for your food, some may not. Some may pay for your travel, some may not. You know what I mean? Some may, some you have to go through a certain 30-day or 40-day or 60-day period before you start enjoying certain amenities or whatever. So like that's something I had to just learn, and I had to go through some trial and error. You know what I mean? But once I went through the trial and error and I figured out what was best for me and what I wanted to do, it was a lot easier. And getting educated and and going to school for certain things actually allowed me to spread my wings even more. So I would say, no matter what you try to do in life, just gain education from it, become educated on it, You know what I'm saying? To take your time. Like it's not something that you could just like. You just can't just jump into a new field or a new experience, and you don't know what you're doing because then you're gonna get burnt. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, you know what I mean. What's going on, AR? It's intellectual soapbox, not Mr. Best. Mr. Best gone. Sometimes, like you may strike gold, right? Like sometimes you jump into something and boom,
Mm-hmm.
everything automatically works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything automatically works, everything goes well, and you kind of luck out. You feel what I'm saying? But the most experience, like my brother, he owns his own business as far as like kind of like commercial goods and like shipping, and handling certain commercial goods and and even personal goods as well. And he had to go through a whole trial and error as well.
Yeah.
And he had to get employees, had to let employees go. He had a lot of major losses and setbacks, but um, because he does have an advisor, it makes his transition a lot easier. So I would say when you get into any type of thing, man, get as many advisors as you can. I don't know what everybody believe in, but if you believe in the word, it says a plan with many advisors is sure not to fail. So if you have many advisors that know what they're talking about, you know what I'm saying, you're not gonna fail. You know what I mean? But make sure that they know what they're talking about too. And then
Mm-hmm.
also you just gotta do your own research, man, no matter what you do. Like that's what
Mm-hmm.
also boils down to it. You gotta do your own research. You know what I mean? And then also no matter what, you gotta know you're gonna have to go through your little rookie phase, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we've seen some of the greatest athletes, you know what I mean, Jordan or whoever else you can name, they had to go through a rookie phase, right? You know what I mean? First 2, 3 years, ain't no championships coming. You know what I mean? They not getting no championships. They going through it. You know what I mean? They may have some victories, but they're not winning anything. You know what I'm saying? Like they have to go through the fire. So like
Mm-hmm.
in any new experience, when you jump into it, you may have to go through some stuff, man. And you just
Yeah.
gotta buckle up and go through the fires, learn what you need to learn, get the best advice you can, and then move forward.
Yeah, that's all part of like just being like an adult, handling like adult things, you know, dealing with adult situations, and if you're able to turn any loss into a lesson, you're gonna be walking away with a victory. You know, real quick, I want to respond to Miss Ochi Patrice, but I gotta give shout outs to again the Chicago Riddler. You know, I gotta get the air horns.
Real
Okay,
time, man.
thank you for tuning in. Okay, AR. Okay, solutions for him. Thank you for tuning in. All right, Pops. You can never fool him. Thank you for tuning in as well.
Pops, what's good?
Okay. Also, okay, Miss Ochi Patrice, she says right now it's a
Hey, okay,
seller's
peace.
market. I want to purchase, but not right now. Mm. Let me tell you this though, right? For the ones now, this is for the ones who do have a home. You do have an advantage if you want to sell your home right now because the interest rates is very high. People are like really desperate. They're trying to like look for property at this moment because it's becoming scarce. It's really becoming hard to really move into certain properties. So if you're able to sell at a certain amount and they could make money off of it, man, now's a good time to sell if you're not trying to keep your property. But if you do sell, the only con is now you gotta look for some, a place to live, unless if you're already living with family or you're planning to move into like a different state that's much cheaper that you could actually put your money into. So these are things that kind of take things into consideration because look, you never know. You could sell a California home, pay off like your debts, take some of the money, move to Texas or whatever, a state that's like, that has property that's cheaper. You could have a better return on your investment and you could kind of bank off that way. Pop says income probably is the way to financial freedom. That's what it's all about. Salute, salute, salutes. But also remember too, there's always different ways to try to invest to make passive income. But yes, since this topic is about income property, yes, it is definitely the way for financial success. Okay, man, she's just stepped out for a minute because I was going to let her speak for a minute, but she will be back. Other than that, let me make sure. Let me get back to a little bit of my story real quick. So, um, pretty much at the end, right? Unfortunately, the pandemic hit, and I'm for sure that most people probably had experiences where it was really hard to try to find anyone to like move out because at that time, now there was a incentive, a higher incentive for tenants to stay in certain properties. Okay, all right, no problem. Mr. Intellectual Soapbox says he will be right back. So it was very, very hard to um, get a tenant that was already comfortable living under the roof of their landlord. And the landlord is like, yo, if you stay, I'll make sure that, like I'll give you 3 months of free rent. And people will just take that offer. Plus, if you did find a tenant, and let's say the tenant stayed into the property, but if the tenant have reasonable excuse to say, look, I got laid off from my job because of the C-19, because we can't say the actual word here. Then they could actually not pay rent for a whole year. And here's the thing that really really sucks for for property owners. They're allowed to not give you the money, but you're not allowed to tell the banks and to tell the banks that, hey, I can't afford to pay my mortgage, so give me like a year so I can catch up. They're gonna be like, sorry, you want to pay up no matter what.
Or foreclose.
Yeah. So we wind up like pretty much like selling our property because of those type of situations. Unfortunately.
Can I say something that's super important? I think Mr. Best hit it right on the head. Do your research, do your homework, because who? Intellectual Soapbox. Okay, yes, sorry. Because I mean, for us, you heard all the things that we came across. We had spent 2 years after getting married looking at properties, figuring out where we wanted to purchase, and if we wanted a single family home first, or a property with an income property first, if we wanted a duplex or a fourplex, and getting the information. We sat in meetings and sat at webinars and seminars and at the banks. I mean, so many. Oh, here, caveats, things that we learned that we can share with you. Mario, are there some things that we learned that you want to share with them? I know there's a couple that come to mind right off the bat from some of the, like there's programs like NACA. I don't know if it exists everywhere, but I know they started back east or in the Midwest.
Well, that was the first program that I learned that you could actually use like their, FHA system to purchase home that was like cheaper. And then the only caveat is that every year you just have to come to like one of their meetings, and that's just once a year, and you just pretty much give your testimony of how NACA was able to help you find your dream home.
Community outreach. If you use that program, you must be their disciple or advocate for the rest of your time of their loan. Mm-hmm. But like Mario said, if you wanted to, you could always refinance and then you would be done with that. FHA is not NACA. We're not trying to say that. They're two different things. FHA, Fannie Mae, and Freddie Mac are all, 3 different entities that provide mortgages around the nation. FHA, if you're purchasing, for example, trailer homes, you cannot use FHA. It has to have a foundation. It has to be a brick and mortar in place building for you to use the FHA. Conventional loans, you can buy any property, any real property with a conventional loan, including a business. But I was going to say specifically, so that's NACA. Then you have banks, you have credit unions. You can go and they advertise their webinars all the time. Sit down. This is 2 years of us looking and learning from various businesses. Sit down with them and learn the tricks of the trade. They have their loan officers there who have talked to real estate agent after real estate agent, They'll put you in touch with real estate agents as well. Your real estate agents will put you in touch with lenders. It works both ways. They are trying to get paid. But this is what they will let you know. 15% of home buyers out of 100% of people, 15%, 10% are looking for houses with pools. So you have a bigger chance of getting what you want if you're a person who likes pools, as opposed to the 100% of people who are looking for a house, just a house, right? If you don't like a pool and you have found a house with a pool in a perfect location, don't say no to it, because you can always fill that pool in with cement and have a wonderful backyard that you want, or fill it in with gravel, dirt, or whatever, your landscape. So, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? As they say. But that's just tricks of the trade, things to know. So when you go looking for your place, you get the first pick. Okay. Are there any other things that you can think of, Mario, that when we first started looking?
Well, hold on for 1 second. I got a response to Pops and OG Patrice. Pops says Miami favors the landlord. They will throw the tent out in 2 months. Man, we need to move to Miami. Then
That's illegal around here.
I'm for sure, like, maybe, Miami homes is probably, it should be way cheaper than California, though. And OG Patrice says, I want to purchase a second home for retirement. I almost purchased, then the pandemic hit. So definitely not purchasing until the market goes down 100%. Here's the thing, my response to that. The market will probably go down just a little bit, but the housing market, it would never be like this. Like, it would never be like 2000. Was it 2010? I feel like it was 2010 when they had that market crash, where everything was just like a buyer's market. Like, you could just buy anything, you know what I mean, at a ridiculous price. Mm-hmm. It would never go down to that rate, ever. Now, it may go down by a little bit, but not as much, unfortunately. The only thing I can see is that, probably is going to continue to go up, even when it has slopes.
Mm-hmm. So do trampolines. Yes. Pops. You can't fool pops. Mm-hmm. Pools and trampolines will increase your homeowner's insurance. Absolutely will. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then he says, as a landlord, you do not want a pool. Oh, you do not want a pool. Okay.
Yeah, that's his advice. Mm-hmm. You don't want a pool if you're a landlord.
Yeah, definitely. Now, everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you guys would like, and ladies would like to, donate, please feel free to donate. Anything helps.
Thank you, Nightbot.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, like we went through so many seminars, like, where one of the biggest things were a joint investment, where you invest in a group and you find a group of people who was like-minded and they had the cash in hand with them, and so you put your money with along with theirs, and you just find like the biggest multi-unit property. Once you put it in there, you just split whatever cost that is, that you guys put into it, that the tenants are going to pay. So it could be like a 100-unit property, and you may have $100,000. You put $100,000 down there, which, now I kind of think about it, I wish we went back and we could have did that. But here's the thing, right? I'm just going to say it flat out. We might not really have a higher chance to really find people that will be willing to invest with us, because certain people in their own communities, they know these things to the T way better than we can. And what they do is, if they're going to put their money into an investment property, they damn sure don't want to do like no mixed race. Okay? They want to keep it within their own race and their own community. So if you have Middle Easterns that has the money to put down on it, even if you're joining the program, what makes you think they're going to be willing to work with you? I'm just saying, just be realistically, unless if you have some fine credibility, but most likely, most groups who do have that money will keep it in their own community. Find somebody within your community that's like-minded, that's willing to invest with you. Hold on. OG Patrice says they're predicting another crash though. I have patience. I can wait out. Okay, okay.
And she's like, I'm gonna buy when it's low. That's what she's thinking.
All right, then we need to hurry up and sell ours. So in that way, then we could probably move to something that's like a little bit cheaper when it goes down. Bob says too many problems with pools. Another thing is dangerous dogs like pit bulls that make the landlords liable. And
Oh, and tenants will not tell you. They will like, no, I don't have any pets, no. And you come by one day, just gotta fix this, gotta fix that. How's it going? You knew I was coming over at 8, and who's this little guy here? Oh, I'm just babysitting this animal for the neighbor or for the friend. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then he says BlackRock is buying up all the housing up. BlackRock is buying all the house. Oh, BlackRock, is that some company buying all the housing up? Small dogs, okay.
You know what I will say for Governor Gavin Newsom right now? Mm-hmm. There are so many properties you can look around. They're just being built all throughout the state, everywhere. There's houses being built up. And what we learned just recently is that there's an ordinance or a bill, something that he passed, he wrote his name to, that says any property that becomes a vacant lot, available space that a city wants to develop, it has to first be offered to low-income housing project developers. And I'm like, I was wondering, why are all these houses being built? But how the houses, nowadays, they're like the low and mid 800K. That's a lot. I'm like, that's not low income. But the apartment buildings that are being built up, the majority of them, they have space because they got the first pick, not tech companies anymore, not businesses anymore. He wrote it, and I don't know for how long it's going to be that way, but it's currently going on right now that it has to be the land if it comes vacant, and unless it's grandfathered, like it's been offered to or sold to a tech company prior to him signing off the date that it went into effect, then they are still able to build. But after he signed it into effect, low-income housing gets the first pick, and the city has to give them a viable, like true offer. And then if they decline, then you can give it to tech, or then you can give it to other businesses. So it's like first pick is now low-income housing. And so it's a renter's market right now in that regard, because there's lots of some areas you have lots of vacant houses waiting for people to move in. So they're brand new builds.
Okay. Pop says BlackRock has the third largest GDP in the world. Only the U.S. and China gave a bigger GDP. What does that mean? GDP. Pops, if you don't mind,
gross domestic product.
Oh, okay. Funny. Okay. Nice. Oh, you know what? We're also at the 1 hour mark. Let me go ahead and I will definitely. Imagine a corporation with the third largest GDP. Okay. Anybody that would like to join in, feel free to join in and have a conversation with us. The link will be posted in. Oh, did I put it right? Is it join or is it link? Oh, sorry. Wrong one. It's supposed to be link. So let me go ahead and type this in. So anybody that would like to join in, feel free to do so. Also, the link will definitely be pinned. Okay. It is so refreshing to see a couple working together to build something 100%. Thank you, Von Brian. I appreciate it. Appreciate you for saying that. All right, people. So join the stream family. Must come up on the backstage before we bring you to the panel, of course. But most of we know you. But just in case, make sure that before we bring you up there, you don't even have to be cammed up if you don't want to. I prefer people to be cammed up because it's just, I like the stage presence. But if you do come up, just identify yourself really quickly, because we also have trolls and other bots that will try to take over the stream. So yeah. Anyways, feel free to join the stream if you guys want to. Okay, and we could continue this conversation. All right. Let me go ahead and bring up Pops. What up, Pops? Salutes to you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yes, hey
you.
Pops.
Hold
Looking
on, let me put my
great.
headphones in. All right, now I can probably hear them.
How's about the East Coast, Pops?
Can you hear us, Pops?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, 1 second. I
Okay.
hear you. What do you need? All right, I got it in the thing. You need it now? Yeah, I gotta get it now. All right, I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem, Pops. I'll just put you in the backstage until you're ready. Don't worry, I got you. When you're ready, just turn your camera on and give me a thumbs up, okay? All right. Or just let us know in the chat. Anyways, while we wait for Pops, do anybody like in the chat have any questions? I just want to make sure that we're covering as much as we can. Remember, as always, okay, please be advised. This is not political, clinical, financial, medical, or legal advice. This is for informational purposes only.
We're just sharing our story with y'all, hoping that it lands well and you get some good advice out of it.
Yeah, I'm for sure that, they definitely will. Okay, let me go up real quick. Let me see. Because I would like to copy this in the future. So thank you, Von Brian. We'll definitely make sure I save that for later. And then I think I've asked too many questions so far. No, look, you could ask like an infinite amount of questions. You're good. You go ahead and bring it back in.
All right. So you guys are talking about stuff that's right up my alley.
Mm-hmm.
Share your knowledge. Share your wealth of knowledge, Pops.
Well, we must understand one thing. When you work for someone, you get paid by the hour. So there's only so many hours a day that you can work to make money. So that's stage one, right? So you're going to work, get paid by the hour, go home. Now, stage two is you basically get paid by the job. So now let's say you're a carpenter and you got a job and you're going to do this job for $1,000 and it may take you 20 hours. So now you're making $50 an hour, but you're working by the job now. Now you're not working for an hourly rate. But the real independent freedom is residual income. That's what you have to shoot for. Okay, you must shoot for that or you'll always be a slave. You'll always work for the oligarchs, the slave masters, I call them. So once you get that residual income, like there are people, I have a friend, he sells life insurance. And every year his customers are renewing their policy or like an auto policy. You know, you go buy auto insurance. Every year you're renewing it, but that person's still making that commission. But it's the same thing with real estate. You own land and eventually you're going to pay it off and it's going to be even a greater residual income, but you constantly are going to get paid and you're not really doing any work. So you can own 100 houses. I mean, it's probably going to be work because you're going to have to maintain them and all that. But when you have residual income, that's the only way you're going to gain financial freedom. If you work for someone or you're even working for yourself in a business by the job, you're never free. So the thing we all must shoot for is that residual income. Whichever way you can find it, that's the way to go. That's what I'm going for soon, you know. I hate working for people. I rather work for myself, but that's like in the middle. Like you're still kind of caught in the system. But once you got that residual income, there's nothing like it. And my biggest mistake in life was I took a lot of money and put it into two businesses because I said, well, the businesses are going to buy me the houses to have the residual income, but the businesses fell. So when your business falls and you lose all your money, now you can't even buy. I should have just bought the houses. I shouldn't even bothered buying the business, building the businesses because I had about, say I had $500,000 liquid. I could have with 500,000 liquid, and we're talking back in the 90s. I could have went and bought 5, 10 houses with that kind of money, because you don't have to, put all of it down. I could have went and bought, 5 houses, put 100,000 down on 5 houses, and took a mortgage on the other, the rest. And they would be paid off for almost by now, say 1990, right? Or in 2022. I'd be sitting pretty. I'd be collecting, even if a house brought me in, the rents are really high here. So let's say I was getting $2,000 a month for each house. I'd be pulling in $10,000 a month right now, not even working. So that's what I should have did. I made mistakes. I'm not perfect, but I learned from them. So if I could give anybody a word of suggestion, buy real estate. God only made so much of it. And all your rich billionaires are all big real estate holders. BlackRock, see, I have a whole show I'm going to do on that company. BlackRock, which is run by a guy, Larry Finch, they're the most evilest corporation in the planet. They're buying all the real estate up. They want to be the new world order. They want to be where, you're going to own nothing and be happy. So what they're doing right now is they're buying houses above market value because they don't care about the money. They just want to own everything. So eventually, in the future, everybody is going to be a renter. We have more rental people renting now than ever in the history of this country. People aren't buying houses they can't afford to. They don't have the money. The loans are harder to get.
I was going to say, that's not true. They can't afford to, because your mortgage is the price of some people's rent. It's just the initial. They make it hard to initially the down payment. Yes, because everybody can afford a mortgage. If they're paying rent, they can afford a mortgage.
Well, I didn't say they can't afford to pay a mortgage. I said they can't afford to buy the house.
Yeah,
that down payment. You need the down payment, and if you don't have a certain amount of down payment, then you're talking about you need PMI insurance. There's a whole thing with housing. You need to put 30% down to really get away from all the extra things they're going to make you pay for, like principal mortgage insurance. You know what that is, right?
Yeah, that extra 200 that nobody gets but the bank.
Right. So once you put a certain amount down, I think it's 30%. They don't bother with you. And then you got a no income verification mortgage too. Sometimes even if you put 10% down, 20% down, if your income isn't enough to cover that mortgage, they won't give it. The banks are much stricter now. They used to give out the loans like they didn't care, but now they're making it harder for us. And then the interest rate's going up now with the Fed.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's making it harder. They're making it harder for the average middle-class person to buy a house. That don't mean you can't do it. Some areas, houses are still cheap. You go down to certain areas. Florida, the houses like 2 years ago were dirt cheap. Now they're going up in value, because everybody's moving to Florida now because of all these restrictions. See, Florida's governor is more for the people. So a lot of people are leaving New York, especially. There's an exodus of New York.
And California.
Yeah, and that's done intentionally. See, BlackRock's buying all that housing up in New York and California. They want you to leave because they want to buy your house.
Oh, they don't want to have empty houses, though. They want people to come and rent at least. But here's what I would add to what you're saying, Pops, is that real estate's important, but just as important, if you don't have like a home-based business or something like that, life insurance. People treat their cars better than they do their own lives. But the actuality is, you were saying like the rich people, a lot of rich people have real estate. They also have life insurance policies because they can borrow off of them and not have to pay the bank exorbitant amounts of interest. They get interest back for themselves on the money that they invest. Well, they don't call it investment, right? When it's life insurance. And it's tax-free money.
Well, what type of life insurance you're talking about? A whole life policy?
IULs. There's two camps. Whole life, yes. And we're not talking, we're not tax people. So please go to your tax advisor, your CPA, talk to them, talk to your insurance company. But index universal life insurances and whole life insurances, but they're two different vehicles. And one, in my opinion, is better than the other. I think the index universal is better than whole life, only because whole life, you get one or the other. You get either the face value your family gets, or you get what you invest. Whereas with index universal, you get both, or your family gets both. But regardless, while you're alive and right now, most IULs also come with a living benefit rider, which means if you get terminally ill or you face a chronic illness, you can get all of the money of your face value and not have to pay it back.
But the
If you
IUL,
get better.
is it more money than a whole life? Because I really never walked
It
into
is.
that lane. That's so
Yeah.
you're paying more. See,
Yeah.
some people, if you can't afford that, though, that's the whole key.
If you can't afford it, like, here's the thing. So, depending on your age, is why you would put more into it. If you're starting in your 20s, in your 30s with your life insurance policy, not a term, because term doesn't pay you anything, and most people outlive their term because we live beyond 30 years old. If you're starting your index universal or your whole life in your 20s, in your 30s even, you're still going to be better off. You can put $100 into it and still be over $500,000 by the time you're 60, right? You start younger than that. If your parents, for example, opened a life insurance policy for you, or you're opening it for your kid, which you can still borrow off of your kids, for those of you that have children, you can still borrow off of your kids. But by the time that child reaches 30, they're millionaires from their life insurance policy, and they didn't put a dime into it. Their parents paid it at $100 a month. They call it $1 million baby policies. And that's, you see the rich have lots of kids. There's a reason for that, because you can open a policy on every single one, including yourself.
It really depends, though, what you're looking to do as far as life insurance. If you're looking for an investment, like you're saying, absolutely, I agree with you. But here's another scenario that you have to look at.
We can't call it investment. They won't call it that, but it's life insurance. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
it's a small amount. Like, here, let me. I know this because I'm basically looking to get into that field, and my friend is one of the biggest writers for New York Life. So, how it works, though, a whole life policy, right? Will cost you. Let's just say you're a 30-year-old male, and you want to have a whole life policy, like a $100,000 whole life policy. That'll last 30 or 20 years. So it'll cover you till you're 50, and it'll keep growing, but it'll be worth a little over, like, let's say
it'll be funded in 20 years. Basically, when they say a 20-year policy, right, it doesn't go away because you haven't died yet, but you're done funding it in 20 years. You don't have to pay a dime more into it after 20 years. Yeah.
Let me give you the numbers, though, so you kind of understand. So, like a 20-year policy, it's going to cost that 30-year-old $150 a month. He's going to have only a $100,000 life insurance policy, which ain't going to cover you if you die to support your 3 children and the house payment and everything. But if you took a $1 million term, just straight out term, now you may not die, okay? But that term policy is going to cost the 30-year-old $50 a month, and he's going to be insured for, let's say, $500,000. And let's say you take $1 million policy, maybe it's $75 a month, but if you die, your family's set. If you die while you have a whole life policy and it's only $100,000, your family is not set. So we think we can die, like you said. Oh, most people don't die. Well, I beg to differ, because I'll give you some statistics. We have a highway called the New Jersey Turnpike. The odds of you dying on that turnpike is 1 in 3,000. That's not great odds.
Yeah. For that 1 or 2 people where they died at their 30s, that family is grateful because they've covered them, especially their death. Their death.
You can die in your 40s. You can die in your 50s. What I'm saying is, if you're a 30-year-old man and you have a family, first thing you have to do is secure financial stability for them in case you die, because it's not a lot of money. So it's called insurance for a reason, right? So if I have a family with 3 kids, I'm going to figure out how much my house costs. If I die, how much they got to pay off, how much money I need for my kids for college.
That's what the advisors do. Exactly what they do. Because you don't have to. Wait, hold
on, Mr. MT. Hold on. Our pops is still talking.
And how much I need to support my children up until they're, let's say, 18. Now, if I make it from 30 to 50 and I don't die, great. I didn't die. I'm still here, but I don't need term life no more. You understand? Because my kids are adults.
Go away. Yeah.
They're adults. I don't got to worry about them. But when they're little, you got to worry. Like my son he's going on his 4th kid. My son dies tomorrow. He don't have life insurance. His whole family's stuck. You know, so he, like my son, needs it more than anyone. He needs at least $1 million just to take care of their bills and their college, and just for them to live the next, let's say, 20 years without him. He may die if God forbid, something happens when he's 40. Then he only needs 10 years. You understand?
Term is the least expensive of the policies, but the thing is, 2% of term in the nation, when you look it up, 2% of terms are ever paid out. So you lose everything.
Yeah, but I would
everything that you invest into a term.
But
If you outlive it, it's only term is the highest is 30 years. So if you outlive your term, depending on when you started it, everything that you've put into it, whether it's $100 a month or $600 a month, it's gone. Whereas with the whole life insurance policies and IULs, those two, you invest in it, as long as it doesn't lapse, you're fine. And your family gets to, if you pass, they get to keep it. Whereas with IUL, it's not only your family gets to benefit from it, but while you're alive, you're benefiting from it. And that's why I said I prefer IUL.
Well, I prefer both. See, I would prefer having a term on myself if I'm a young man, and having IUL as more of an investment policy, because
the whole package. Yes, that's true.
If you got to say to yourself, okay, I bought a term policy and I lived 30 years and I didn't die and all that money got wasted, but it wasn't really a significant amount of money. But what if I did die? See, I want to go to bed at night knowing that if I do die, some freaky accident at work or driving to work, that my family's taken care of. If it was a big investment, I would definitely agree. But I think you should have both. I think you should have a term, which costs peanuts. Okay, because you're a young man, you don't smoke. If you're a non-smoker, the policy is super great.
Real, yeah.
And I would definitely have what you're saying. You know, either a whole life or I never looked into the IULs yet. Is that what you call it?
Yeah. Index universal life. Here's the thing though, if you're an employee, most employers put you in a group term. So you've already got that. If you're an employee.
But you have to worry about what company you put it with too.
But they'll still, I mean, it's coming out of your paycheck already and you're already covered. Also, your bank, if you have a regular, Wells Fargo does it, whomever, if you have a credit union, they'll offer it to you. They'll offer you accidental death and term life insurance. It's really easy to get term life insurance. And you're probably, if you're an employee, any of you look on your pay stub, you're probably already paying into a term life insurance. The other one to get, because you can't borrow off a term, the IUL or the whole life, because those you can borrow off of and it's tax-free money. You borrow it as a loan and it's something that if you want to, you can pay it back to yourself. Yeah. Otherwise, you're borrowing it from your dead self and they're not expecting you to pay it back, but they will say, here's your options. You can pay it back now, or when you die, we'll deduct that and the interest from your face value amount. Well, and that's what they do.
Most people are not going to be able to afford $1 million term policy. The payment will be astronomical.
Depends when they start. If they start as a kid, they would be able to. And when they're 18, a
30-year-old whole life policy, you know how much $1 million is?
A 40-year-old, $600 a month or so. If they're making that, they can afford it. If they can't, then they can't, and they would look for maybe a whole life policy. Those are the two expensive ones, though.
Yeah, because a month is a lot of money to a lot of people. I'm talking about an average middle-class person does not have an extra $600. So if I'm going to do something, if I'm a middle-class guy and I don't have an extra $600-700 a month to throw into a savings account, because that's what it is.
I'm going
to buy a term life policy because I want to make sure if I do die, for $50 a month, I know my kids are taken care of. Because when my kids are 18, I already won. You get your kids at the age of 18 to 20 and you're still alive, you won. So
the older you are, term makes better sense. That's true.
Yeah. So I'm going to say this, right?
Actually, it doesn't make sense for an older person. It makes sense for a younger person because the older person is going to pay a lot of money for term.
So I'm going to say this, right? Either way, whether you invest in term or index universal life insurance, you're still better off by paying no insurance at all.
Well,
Yes,
no. What do you mean?
yeah. I said by I'm talking about when I mean like no insurance at all. I mean some people don't even have insurance. You get what I mean?
But
So
you need it if you don't have a lot of like
If you
yeah,
don't have
have a lot
any
of
debt,
property.
if you don't have
hold
any
on,
debt, I hear you.
yeah. So
But if
yeah.
you have debt, you probably would want your family to be taken care of and not be on the street when you pass.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. So that's my point, right? Like whether you invest in term or index universal life insurance, or if you borrowing like that and you have both, it is way better than someone not investing in insurance at all.
I
That's why I
agree.
use that. That's why I use that term of
Okay, I hear you. Yeah, I
yeah,
understand.
spend it for no
Either one
insurance at
of
all.
them.
But
Because
now let's
because
separate it.
yeah.
Term is not an investment.
Mhm.
Term is basically insurance. That's what it really is. It's a safety net. It's just to say, hey, if I die, my family's good.
Yeah, and it's only the investment for your family benefit. You know what I
Correct.
mean?
Yep.
Yeah. Whatever the case is, you're investing for your family's benefit more than you invest in yourself. You're gonna be dead, so it don't really matter. But the point is, it's going out to your loved ones.
Right.
Here, look. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people, ignorant people, that don't even invest in insurance at all. Period. For their kids.
They don't believe in it.
And but guess what though, right? They're gone deceased while we're paying for funeral arrangements. Me, I'll just cremate them. You know what I mean? That's just me.
Well,
But
I told my son, just bury me on your land, put me in a blanket, and throw me in the hole. I don't need a coffin.
yeah.
But here's another thing people don't do. You work, your wife works, right? And you take a term policy. You're 30 years old for $35 a month for $500,000 on yourself, right? They don't take one out on their wife. What if your wife dies? Now who's going to take care of the kids while you're working? See, you got to have it on both spouses. Both of you need it. The woman could die too. Not only the husband.
Somebody pops in the comment. Do you want to address that? They said, forget life insurance, just buy land. I think they're forgetting that there's property tax. It's going to go away if you don't take care of that.
No. Mike says teach the kids how to hunt and fish. Buy some. Oh yeah, he did say buy some cheap land and fuck life insurance policy.
Well, life insurance is so cheap.
Property
though.
tax.
It's so cheap though. Life insurance, term that it's actually well worth the investment to sleep good at night. Yeah. I'll be honest, I never had it because I thought I was Superman. I said I ain't dying, but if I would, and I only had one kid, so it wasn't that bad. And at the time when I didn't get it, I had a lot of money. But like for somebody that doesn't have really a lot of money but can afford, $10 a week for life insurance term, and get $500,000 to cover their family. Like, my son's in a situation. If he dies, my son's house and land is paid for. He don't have a big overhead, but who's gonna feed it? Who's gonna buy his kids clothes and put them through college? I guess he knows I will.
Yeah.
And real quick, and Von Bryan says yes, life insurance, the term life is $9.99. You can get it as low as that. Now, I have term.
Term is very cheap, very inexpensive.
And my wife, she has the index universal life insurance, IUL. So technically we have both, but
and everyone that works has term. If you look at what they take out of your check every month, everyone that works has term, because here's the thing, they get to make an investment on their key people. When you study pops, you'll understand what that means. The key people, that person, the face, the individual can change, and they get to keep that money because it's a key person. It's money that they get to keep as a company to train the next person that takes your place.
Yeah, but I worked for companies and they do give you the term, but it's a real small policy, maybe 50 grand. I have had companies give me a 20 grand one. That ain't going to do anything. I would get my own. I would get minimum. You got to figure out your bills. You got to.
Here's the thing, though. In
family need.
In some states, specifically where I live, You can't keep they're gonna take from the policy that is considered the primary. They're not gonna choose both because you're only supposed to have one term policy. Like if you, for example, you can have annuities on yourself and someone else in your household can have annuities, but double dipping, it's not necessarily gonna make any difference for your family because you're only supposed to have one term at a time in some states. I don't know how it is in New York.
Yeah, I never heard that, but that's something
Yeah.
new. And if that was the case, I would tell my company, well, you're only giving me 50,000. I don't want it.
Yeah, I for a time I had quit my company's term.
Yeah,
Because, but I picked it back up within the 2 years before it lapsed.
Real
Yeah.
quick, right? I want to get back into more like property investments, right?
Mhm.
Because I mean, like the insurance is great and all, right?
Generational wealth. We're talking all of
Yeah.
it. It seems like
Property
right now.
But that still is a part of generational wealth. But
It is, yes.
But here's my question. Okay, so Pops, I know you were saying like earlier, like you wish you could have brought like to like investment property and all that, or just property in general, period. Because then you'll be banking out. You'll pretty much be rich. But okay, so my question is like, all right, do anybody feel like it's too late to buy investment property?
It's never too
Never
late.
too late.
Never too late.
No.
But you have to make sure you know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
You just can't jump into it and think it's a definite guarantee, because there are people that do buy investment properties and lose them. You have to do your homework before you make that big lunge. It's a big lunge.
Which is why they make it so hard for people to. This is why you have the underwriter that asks all kinds of questions, because people screw up. You burn the bridges, you close the doors for the next person, and you make it hard for other people who are financially responsible with their money, but they gotta go through the hurdles and all these other loops, probably because they don't have enough to really put down onto it, especially when you're dealing with high interest rates, inflation that's already happening. What's the other term that they be saying like in the stock market that's going on right now besides inflation? But
well, that's another thing. When I was talking about life insurance, there are life insurance companies that are tied to Wall Street, and if Wall Street collapses, your life insurance policy is worthless. Like your whole life. And then there are life insurance companies that are actually not tied to Wall Street, and that are like New York Life is worth something like, I don't know, $8 billion, and then not tied one penny to if Wall Street went under, New York Life keeps moving on.
Right. And you have to really do your homework on that, because there's some companies that have a zero bottom. Like if they bottom out, you have no stop loss. And there's other companies, IUL and Whole Life, they say even if we do bad, the dip that you'll see, you'll keep what you have plus 7.75%.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. They guarantee it.
And but the ones that have that safety net also have the ceiling, right? So they might earn 30% that year, but they only give their customers a cut of 15%. Like that's the ceiling, the cap for their customers.
See, that's how corporations like they make their money, just like the banks make their money off of us. Whenever you put your money into a bank account, they're only going to give you that 1.5%. You get like maybe $1.50 out of $10,000 that you saved up. Meanwhile, they're investing, they're banking up the money that you put it in.
22%, 50%, whatever that.
At least they're generous enough to at least give you to the max of 15%, but it depends like on the market, and it depends on the economy as well too, though.
And here's what I'll say. Whether it's whole life insurance, IUL, those vehicles perform far better than your savings account. So if you're still saving money in a savings account, that's not like, your fair weather money, pocket change, start investing, or they won't call it investing, but start looking at IULs and whole life insurance to put your savings. If it's a big nest egg, because they're in the savings account for a bank, you're going to make at the maybe 1.5%, right? What is that in an economy that's 7% or inflation is causing, prices to go up. Whereas 3%, an average performance of 3% or 5%, where you're in the IUL or the whole life insurance, at least you're in the races for for middle class with that kind of earnings. That's money to your pocket, not money you're giving out. Moreover, if you ever had to take a loan from that amount, you're not paying the bank 17.99 or 12.99. You're earning at least 4% or 3.5% as if you never touched the money, because the insurance company's letting you borrow their money. And it's better to use other people's money, right, than your own. And then you can pay yourself back on a 2% interest as opposed to a 12% interest. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's how rich people get rich. They use other people's money to make money.
That's the truth.
That's the trick.
Pops is talking it. He's telling the truth right there.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly.
And it's not going away, because it's how our congressmen and, it's how everybody that makes the laws are staying rich themselves. The older people in the House and the Senate that are making these laws, they are benefiting from it too. So it's not going away.
Hey, knowledge, did you see my son? He put a comment. They can make clothes out of animals they kill. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I saw that because he said fuck cars is a scam.
Yeah,
I do agree to that part. It is somewhat kind of like a scam as far as the.
It depends what college. They're all conservative colleges too. You can send your children, but my son has a new clothing line. Just kill it instead of just do it. Just kill it.
Okay.
We'll have like a Nike logo, but I don't know what just kill it instead of just
a
do
backward swish.
Yeah.
A check mark.
Right.
No, like a scope pointed at a deer. Just kill it. Make clothes.
I want to give like a quick shout outs to Where the Rabbit Hole Ends, because him and also his wife Mimsy Limbs,
Hey.
which also bada bang that like button. Mimsy Limbs have a new channel called Mimsy Makes the Home, so she's going to be having a lot of baking tutorials, teach you guys how to bake like homemade good stuff. So definitely, please, if you guys can, type it up on YouTube. Sometimes YouTube, like especially when you first start, you may not be able to find it, but just know that is, her channel. So search her up and definitely give her a subscribe. And then Von Bryan says, peace and blessings, everyone. Good night. Great show. Hey, Von Bryan, I just want to say thank you very much for tuning in. It was definitely a pleasure for you to be a part, into like the show, into the chat. So thank you so much. All the questions that you asked was definitely helpful in the live stream, because sometimes I may forget, to even address those things. So hopefully, everything worked out well. And, forgive me for, like I said, I'm not a financial advisor, so forgive me for my lack of knowledge if I got stuck in any kind of way. I just want to put that out there. But hopefully it was helpful for the people who are tuning in. And Pops, thank you for tuning in as well, too, because, your knowledge definitely helps. Everybody move to Miami.
The only suggestion I could tell people, though, right now, in my own opinion only, and I'm not a financial expert, but I stay away from Wall Street right now.
Okay.
Because it's very unstable, and something's gonna break soon with all this inflation and recession we're going in. I definitely, if I had money in Wall Street right now and Wall Street didn't sink yet, I probably would pull some of it out at least and get it spread out into a different basket, because I have no faith in Wall Street right now. That's just my own personal opinion. I could see the writing on the wall with Wall Street. I think we're going to have another crash.
Uh-oh.
When you're talking Wall Street, you're talking stocks?
Yes. S&P, all of that. S&P 500,
NASDAQ. Yeah.
Like I made some money in the stock market. When Biden became president, I bought oil right away.
Well, yeah.
I knew the gasoline was going up, and it did. And then I pulled out recently about a month ago, and it started going down again, which was good. And I think it's gonna. I think though it's gonna go down a little more and then buy back in, because I think gasoline is gonna hit $10 a gallon. That's just my
it's
opinion.
already there in SoCal.
No, but it's gonna. Average throughout.
Yeah, average. Average probably like 7.
Right
Okay.
now, no. Right now, it's about average throughout the country. It's
Uh-huh.
less than 5 now. It went down a little bit.
We
Okay.
haven't seen
But,
5 in a long time.
but you got to look at how much it is per barrel. That's how you know how much oil
Yeah.
is. It went under 100, which is good.
Well, I haven't really been seeing gas stations for a while because I have a Tesla, so I'm not.
Well,
And we have solar panels too, so
it's at
Yeah.
4.25 here in Jersey, 4.30 a gallon. It went down from like $5 to, but that ain't helping us.
Last time I bought gas for the hybrid, it was I think
Mhm.
$6.50 or $6.25, something like that here,
Where do you live?
California.
Oh,
Mhm.
ooh.
Bay Area, the home of the rich.
Oh, you
and
mean
poor.
you live in like San Francisco,
Nah, but close. Yeah, we're
Oakland,
just 40 minutes,
Yeah,
40
yeah, like
minutes drive.
Oakland?
Yeah,
Oh,
Mhm.
I'm a Raider fan, so woohoo. I'm an Oakland Raider
we're
Yeah.
fan
not
since
really
I'm a
sports
baby.
heads, but when we do, we go back nostalgia.
Mhm.
49ers,
Oh, okay. Joe Montana, Jerry
Joe
Rice,
Montana, Jerry Rice era. Yeah.
and Taylor. Taylor was the other receiver.
hmm
No,
I
I
that's
was
used to be a Bears fan,
cyber.
but that was my uncles and them's influence when I was younger.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm a Lawrence Taylor guy, so I'm a Giants.
All right.
When it comes to the old school, I love Lawrence Taylor,
That's what's up.
and Joe Montana was great too.
Yeah, he was a good player, man.
He was fun to watch. Him and Icky. He was
Yeah.
on the Raiders. Icky Shuffle guy. You would see everybody doing that the schoolyard.
Yeah. Well, I was a big Raider fan as a little kid because they were like the bad guys, the dirty team.
The Skull and Crossbones team.
Yep.
Real quick, so we have like a 1 minute down, like to the clock before I'm about to wrap up.
Oh,
And
2 hours.
yeah, I mean this was good. I'm glad that started like at 6 because with work happening tomorrow after a long vacation, I want to make sure we definitely get ready. But I just want to say, it was definitely a pleasure having people come on there. Pops, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
No problem, props. And you're always welcome to come to our live streams as always.
Yep.
So, stay tuned for like our other usual topics as well too. So
Yeah, I got a pretty good live stream I'm gonna be doing in a couple of days.
okay.
I'm coming out with one. Gonna talk a lot about what's going on with the farmland. Because we're in trouble. People just don't see it yet. I'm gonna break it down.
All right. Well, I look forward to tuning in to that. So then.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
All right. Anyway, God bless and peace out.
All right, pops. All right, Mr. MT. Do you have anything that you would like to add to it? I'll give you 10 seconds.
I hope that what we're sharing with you of our own experience has enlightened you and helped you as you're making decisions for your families and for your generational wealth to flourish, that it doesn't just stop with you and that your generations are blessed because of the efforts that you're making, because we can't take it with us. Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Good night, everyone. Okay, oops. Oh, let me make sure I stop the timer. There we go. And also, see, I got to do all this just to make sure I stop the music. Hold on for a second. All right. Okay, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Knowledge and Relationships. Definitely feel free to comment after the live stream. Leave some feedback to help boost up the algorithm. One thing I'm just gonna say this to make this clear, right? And I'll just leave this up here, right? Just so everybody will know. Again, we're not financial advisors in any kind of way of what we're saying. We're just talking about our own personal experiences. One thing I'm just gonna say this, and this is just for this is not dedicated to anyone personal or whatever, because these are multiple people that usually will say this. Usually when we have our live streams and it's all about most relationships, because this is not relationships or celebrity things, I know people will say, can we talk about something more positive, or can we talk about this or that or whatever. Here's the thing. Shout outs to the people who still come through the good and through the bad. because you got to have a balance for all aspects. I think this was definitely something that was more inspiring to learn. And also, I want to make sure that you guys stay tuned tomorrow, Tuesday, for Easily Rigs. We will be still talking about more, okay? Remember, we're not turning this into a financial channel, but we're going to be talking more about finances because Be Easy. I know he has something that he wanted to do a follow-up on from the last live stream. And I know the last live stream, about the whole inflation topics, like I think that was definitely helpful. So right now, as we're going through this, it's time to kind of learn and also entertain as well too. So all I'm just saying is, the point being is that if you have a complaint for anybody, if anyone has a complaint about people not making a change, people are stuck in certain type of ways, just know change starts within you. I mean, I'm looking into the wrong camera, but change starts within you. Okay? You have to make the change. You have to take action to it. If you do not take action, then you're just pretty much talking and you're just wasting people's time, and just being a clout chaser. So with that being said, you want to make the change, you yourself has to make it happen. Okay? Can nobody make it happen but you? And the change to start, the solution is that make the change within your community. Also know that money is power. So with the power that you may have, that you want to accomplish, sometimes you got to hustle in order for you to make that financial gain so you can have financial freedom to do things that you may really want to do. I know people want to party, go on vacations and all that, which is cool. But sometimes you got to get stuck with delayed gratification. You're not going to see me buy no Jordans, no off the wall, expensive name brand type of shoes or clothes or whatever. Look, man, Amazon, I'll get some shoes from Walmart if I need some. And I'll start the best way I can. All right? I'm not thinking about that type of stuff. Right now, I'm thinking about the hustle and grind. And even in this live stream, I'm going to keep on hustling, keep on grinding as much as we can for the team. And that's pretty much it. So I just want to make that clear to everyone who's tuning in and watching. Don't complain if you don't have a solution and if you're not willing to put the work in. But anyways, hopefully this was helpful, which most people said it was, so I'm glad. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Peace out. About to drop the outro.
Knowledge and relationships